Hold up, something looks a little bit off. Let me go ahead and just fade into it. There you go. That's more like it. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? You're watching footage from the Nokia 8V 5G UW. That is a lot to say for a mid-range smartphone from Nokia, which might be the closest thing that they have for a flagship at the moment. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this phone in a real-world camera test, even though it might not be on many of your guys' radar compared to other flagships out there, is because there are parts of this camera experience that I feel like everyone should pay a little bit of attention to. Nokia, in their partnership with Zeiss, have actually done a few really cool things here that personally I am really into, and I hope we get to see in more smartphones, including ones from Nokia in the future. You see, this smartphone is yet another return for Nokia, and this time they have a partner in Verizon. That's why this is an ultra wideband capable phone. Millimeter wave and all of that is super interesting when it comes to 5G, but it's not something that's available for everybody. So in reality, what you're getting is a mid-range-ish smartphone, more upper mid-range, on one of the best networks here in the US. So you can look forward to fast internet no matter what. So what else does this phone have to offer? Well, without getting too far into like a full review, because I already did that over at Pocket Now, link appearing above and is available below, I would say that this phone has a really good minimalistic style, is a little bit too big for my personal taste, but there is a very large full HD IPS screen here that has been pretty enjoyable for media and some gaming. Speaking of gaming, this phone does rock the Snapdragon 765G, which we all know is a really great processor that allowed for a lot of mid-range devices to actually elevate in 2020. But of course, one of the main reasons why this phone is interesting is because of its camera package. Nokia is still partnered up with Zeiss, who brought a 64 megapixel sensor as the main camera on here with a few other supporting characters. Keep an eye in the corner so you know what lenses are being used for what you're seeing, but with this 64 megapixel sensor, you also get a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 2 megapixel macro lens, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Say what you will about the 2 megapixel lenses, I am going to focus on the capabilities that Nokia and Zeiss put into the two main sensors, which is of course the main and the ultra wide. As far as pictures are concerned, I don't really have any complaints with the Nokia 8V, but at the same time, it's not an overachiever, it's not really spectacular or surprising in any way. The pictures look good and you can get really good results out of this phone, as long as you are in good lighting conditions, but even then, this f1.8 aperture lens does a pretty good job in low light situations as well. Similarly, the ultra-wide is your kind of run-of-the-mill ultra-wide, but I have to credit Nokia for making sure that this particular sensor is able to record at 4K, including in the cinema mode, which is what I wanted to focus on the most in this video. And you know what, I will explain some of the stuff I really like about this phone's cinema mode in a second, but why don't I just let you enjoy some clips, and also make sure to keep an eye on the corner so you know when I'm using certain types of footage or what lenses I might be using, and then I'll explain further what that all means. So at its core, the video taking experience on this phone is actually quite satisfying. The detail is good in the videos, and dynamic range can be helped along with HDR toggles that are available also in the auto video mode. But then you get into the actual cinema mode, and this is where things kind of open up, and I want to see more of this stuff in other devices. What you can do here is actually record in what is called an H-log profile. Basically, it'll record all of the video at a very flat color profile that also adds dynamic range because everything's really evened out and the colors are very much crushed down. Now for content creators like myself that might shoot in log profiles, whether it's Vlog on a Panasonic camera or S-Log on a Sony camera, well then you bring it into your video editor and you add in the color, the contrast, and you mess with all of the settings yourself. That does allow you to customize the look, but also add in things like sharpening and to make sure that the detail is exactly where you want it to be. But this is a process that you might end up doing clip by clip by clip. You see, because of the high customization that log recording can afford you, it's more than just adding a filter on top of the video. It has full customization, so that's why they call them looks, more than just filters. And this is where I have to applaud Nokia and Zeiss, because in the video editor in this phone, there are built-in looks. There are so many of them already that you can get moody looks, you can go for warmer tones or cooler tones, or you can just go for what's called a Rec 709 profile, which is for the most part exactly what you should be seeing in an accurate color space. I know that this is all sort of technical jargon for some of you out there who might not be content creators, but the point is that for creators like myself, using log recording on smartphones has been kind of tedious because you have to take that footage and then bring it into your computer, and hopefully your computer will be able to run that footage in the first place, and then you add in all of those looks or just do the actual tuning yourself. But you have the choice in the Nokia 8V to add in the looks in the phone or to take the footage, and it actually runs pretty well on all of my computers. Which brings me back to the cinema mode interface, and along with being able to change up the settings for like shutter speed and ISO and all of that, you also have some information on the top right. That's right, you can do 4K 24 frames per second, which is the more filmic look, and it's what I record all of my footage in, but at the same time you have a high bitrate there at 60 megabits per second. Now I know high is kind of relative, like for example this that I'm recording right now is at 100 megabits per second, but it's good to see anything above 50 on a smartphone because they tend to not to get that high. So with a higher megabit per second bitrate, you actually have enough information so that when you do add in those colors yourself in something like DaVinci Resolve, well, it can do it pretty effectively. And you've seen me do that with graded clips here in this video already. And ultimately, I wouldn't be talking in these terms about how much I like the experience on this phone if the camera wasn't already pretty good. Yes, this is not a flagship device, this is not a high-end device, but Nokia has created what is the closest thing they might have to a flagship here in 2020, near the end of 2020. So I really hope that we're going to see more of this kind of camera attention to detail in future Nokia devices. Whether or not they go crazy with all of the lenses on the back or not, their partnership with Zeiss seems to be providing some tools that content creators should be looking out for, because maybe in future Nokias, it's going to get better and better, and then Nokia will definitely have a lot more of our attention. And so there you have it, a nice quick real-world camera test with the Nokia 8V. If you're interested in the full review that I did for Pocket Now, make sure you hit the link that's above and below. But in this video, I just wanted to show you some of the stuff I really liked and enjoyed about my time shooting with this phone. It was when I was out at the Arboretum that I was walking around taking photos and videos, and every time I looked at what I got, I was actually pretty impressed with it most of the time. So I wanted to share all of that with you. Let me know what you think about what the Nokia 8V is providing in the comment sections down below. Let me know what you think of the real-world camera test as well, and if you're as excited as I might be for Nokia to improve on all of this in future full-fledged flagships. But yeah, it is the holidays, and I want to extend my warmest wishes to all of you. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Make sure you spend a lot of time with your loved ones if you can, and in general, just take care of yourselves and each other. With that said, I will just say thank you again for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so we can hang out even more throughout these holidays whenever I get the videos out. But until then, I would just remind you to enjoy your tea, everybody.